Welcome. My name is Grandma Storm. I write stories for young adults. Today I'm reading chapters 36 through 40 in my book, The Book of Faith. "36. There were the usual abandoned fields and barns as the three entered the village. There was the usual pack of starved dogs. But instead of banging on the door of the headman's house, Skiva skirted around the village until he came to a lonely cottage. As they approached, Faith saw a thread of smoke rising from the chimney. Without knocking, Skiva walked in, pulling Faith along. Old Scratch followed. Inside the cottage, the air was smoky and dank. Out of the corner emerged a dark, dwarfish woman. The fire in the hearth revealed a bent form, her clothing shabby. As she drew near, her eyes caught the light, reflecting the orange flame. The orange eyes shifted and fastened upon the child. "She is a little thing," observed Orange Eyes. "You are late." "What is the date, anyway?" inquired Skiva. 2 days before the time of congregation." "Have I been away that long?" "Yes, but I think you have what is required," remarked Orange Eyes, scrutinizing the little girl and noting the bird perched on her head. "Well, I am here, and I have the living child," said Skiva. "You missed the pageant of progress and the celebration of development parade. The name of Skiva might be forgotten. Memories are short in Topeth," chided Orange Eyes. "Yes, but I am Skiva, soon to be the favorite of the dear queen." "If obtained," observed the old woman. "It is a precarious position." "For a fool, maybe, but I am no fool, old woman," hissed Skiva. "Does the girl require food?" "I suppose," muttered Skiva. "And your companion?" "What?" "Oh, yes, him. Feed him something." "Do I add the bird to the soup?" inquired Orange Eyes. "No," spat Skiva. "Leave the bird. Enough talk. I've been through hell for this girl. Get me something to eat. Now." A greasy soup was slapped into bowls and flung on a table. A hunk of black bread was stabbed in the center with a long knife. "Eat," growled Orange Eyes. The soup did little to chase the chill from Faith's small frame. That night she rolled up in her blanket, as close to the banked coals in the hearth as allowed. Cuddling with her pet, she murmured to Anna until she drifted to sleep. In the chill light of dawn, Orange Eyes shook the girl and yanked away the blanket. The turtle dove took to her wings and perched on a sooty rafter. Faith was ordered to go outside to empty her bladder. That was the way of life on the trail, so that was not strange, but Faith was surprised this tiny place did not have a washhouse. Even old village people had little washhouses. When she returned, Orange Eyes began pulling and snatching and grabbing at Faith's buttons and clothes. Before she could stop the woman, off came her cloak, off came her jumper. "Stop, please stop," cried the little girl. Skiva's voice, coming from a dark corner, was irritated and sharp. "Shut up. Haven't you ever had a bath?" With a jerk, Faith's mind returned to the fortress of the giants. The bath she enjoyed there was a delight of bubbling hot water, scented soap, and cold cascading waterfall. Her mind jumped to her home by the river. Pa kept everything so clean and fresh in their little washhouse. Everything in this cottage was grimy and foul. Faith lifted her eyes to Anna. How she wished for wings so she too could fly away from this horrid woman. Submit. It was the whisper, the one she heard in the dream. Faith shuddered and stood still. Dousing a rag in a bucket, the old woman began the job of cleaning the dirt of the long journey off the young body. Faith stood in the middle of the cottage, exposed, wearing only her slip. Ministrations of cold water were applied to face, neck, and ears. Faith whimpered, "The water is so cold." A hostile look from Orange Eyes silenced Faith. She bit her lip and closed her eyes. The bath proceeded. Dripping, icy fingers felt the silver chain at the back of Faith's neck. Orange Eyes pulled out the silver key and closed her fingers around it. Turning on the woman, Faith fought for the key. "No, it is mine." Skiva was there in a moment. "What are you talking about?" "It is mine. She can't take it," cried Faith, turning to face Skiva. "Let me see this," demanded Skiva as he shoved Orange Eyes away from Faith. "Seems you have not examined your prize," croaked Orange Eyes. "I wonder what other trinkets this little trophy hides." His long nose drew near to Faith as he examined the key. He considered the engravings and noted the name it bore. He dropped the key and turned away. "Leave it," he commanded. "Look, Skiva," hissed Orange Eyes, pressing toward him. "I could sell that pretty little pendant for a lot of money. There are certain collectors I know, ever on the search for a new curiosity. Let me have it. I have needs, I have expenses. I have earned this." Skiva swung from Faith to confront Orange Eyes. "You will not, I say. Save for the dirt, she is to be preserved as you find her. And what are you talking about? Don't you have a roof over your head? Don't you have food and clothing? Don't you have pride in me? Think about all I have strived for. Don't you see I am so close to rising to a place of honor? Don't ruin it now, old woman, with your picking and nasty schemes." All right, I will leave the trinket." A rough towel was produced, and Faith's skin was rubbed till it was red. Faith gasped when she saw the old woman pull a knife out of her pocket. Please, don't hurt me. What have I ever done to you?" "Oh, don't be ridiculous," chided Skiva in his sing-song voice. "She is merely going to trim your nails, fingers, and toes. Be still. This old woman is quite skilled with a knife, but you would not want to make her slip." Skiva was right. Orange Eyes did a neat job trimming Faith's nails with the blade. Still, Faith was relieved when the knife was once more in the old woman's pocket. Orange Eyes picked up Ruth's Faith's woolen socks and shook them. Then she grabbed a stiff brush from a cupboard and thoroughly brushed the shoes. "Put them on," Orange Eyes ordered Faith. "It is the best I can do." "Hurry up," chided Skiva. "Comb her hair. It is a matted mess." The dwarfish woman turned on Skiva and slapped him. "Show respect. I'm doing the best I can. You want to do this?" Rather than striking back, Skiva slouched in his chair, folded his arms, stuck out his lip, and pouted. Orange Eyes picked up Faith's cloak and brushed it. Faith watched the woman's fingers to see if they strayed into any pockets. If in obedience to Skiva, or if Orange Eyes did not feel the gifts, or if Philip's song guarded the treasures, nothing was disturbed. Looking at her hands, Faith had to admit she was cleaner. Thinking she was done, Faith wondered about breakfast. If what Orange Eyes offered for dinner last night was any indication of her cooking, Faith would rather eat a shriveled apple from her pack. As she stepped away, Orange Eyes grabbed her arm. "Where," mocked Orange Eyes, "are you off to, dearie?" "I'm hungry. I'm getting an apple from my pack." "Don't bother with that. You will eat soon enough. Probably feast at the palace tonight." Shocked to submission by thought of a feast, Faith allowed the woman to comb her hair. After tugging and yanking to no avail, the knife came out of the old woman's pocket again. tangles fell to the floor. For fear of the knife, Faith stood very still. Out came the comb to finish. "She is done," declared Orange Eyes. Turning to Skiva, she said, "What are you waiting for? Take the bucket and get yourself clean. Your clothing is in the crate under the floorboard in the corner. It was a trick to hide that from the brown leathers. They are always prowling around looking for more gifts." With the old woman's attention shifted to Skiva, Faith slipped away to her pack. She found the apple and some cracked grain. Anna glided down from the rafter to share breakfast. Biting the apple, Faith was reminded of her loose tooth. It wiggled more. That worried her, so she gnawed on the apple with her side teeth. Looking up, she saw Skiva stripped down and scrubbing away at his skin. Like the creatures in the river in the cave, his body was white and bony. Turning away, Faith snuggled her nose in Anna's feathers, enjoying the warm, birdie scent. Anna cocked her head and cooed. Faith thought her pet needed a touch of finery. After all, if they were going to meet the dear Queen today, she wanted her pet to be dressed properly. She pulled out her bag of seeds. It was not hard to separate a strand from the cord and still leave the bag secured. Faith tied the pink thread to the dove's leg. Faith looked up to see Orange Eyes digging in a trunk. Muttering to herself, Orange Eyes pulled out odd bits of clothing and threw them at the shivering man. "Stop it! I am not done," old woman snapped Skiva. "Why can't you give me hot water? I might as well scrub with chunks of ice. You always were tender that way. Always skimping, always so bloody cheap. Well, after tonight, no more skimping for me." Then it was Skiva's turn to submit to Orange Eyes' knife. Sulking and complaining, Skiva behaved like a crabby baby, while Orange Eyes carved away at him. Nails, hair, and beard were trimmed. Next, the two bickered over clothes and adornments. Piece by piece, a new Skiva was assembled. Soon he stood transformed from a murderous, cave-crawling, black-hearted kidnapper to a courtier prepared for an audience with the dear Queen. "You are too skinny. Stand up straight. Turn around," shrilled Orange Eyes. "Oh, I give up. It is the best I can do. Practice your bow." Skiva, slowly and with a wince, swung into a courtier's bow. "That will never do," Orange Eyes croaked. "More grace, more elegance. Don't you remember anything I taught you?" Bickering commenced again. It was finally enough noise to wake Old Scratch. "Misery, misery," mumbled Old Scratch. "What is all this here ruckus?" Skiva swung around. "Get up, you lazy lout. You snore, snore, snore away the morning. It is time to go, or we will miss arriving to Topeth by nightfall." Old Scratch sat up and rubbed his eyes. "Why, Skiva, is that you? Why, you look so grand and all." "Why, yes," sniffed Skiva. "Now you see me for who I truly am. But I have not yet reached the heights for which I am destined." "Oh, I can see for sure that you be great, Skiva. You be great, no doubt." With that insight, Old Scratch began his morning itching ritual. Skiva closed his eyes in disgust, lifted his nose, and turned away to strike a pose in the silver light of the new day. 37. Dogs announced the parade. Watery eyes peeked through cracked shutters. There was Skiva, slowly and majestically strutting through the village. His black, pointy beard pointed higher, his bony chest inflated in an effort to fill his waistcoat. A little girl in a hooded cloak followed. Surrounded by barking dogs, Old Scratch brought up the rear. As they departed the borders of the village, the dogs abandoned them and returned to their holes. Skiva slouched, resuming his limp. That little show caused him pain. With pain came a quick temper. "Get me a stick," Skiva demanded. "Sure, Skiva, I can do that for you," obliged Old Scratch. "But why, Skiva, did you leave your other stick at that old woman's hut? And when do I get a little bites to eat? And Skiva, who was that stingy old woman? She didn't feed me nothing but that nasty old soup. I's hungered. Thinks I can get a smoke in that there Topeth?" "Silence, you fool," growled Skiva as he snatched the stick offered by Old Scratch. "That stingy old woman is my mother." "Oh, I sorry, Skiva. I mustn't be mean about your old mother. I suppose she done her best." Climbing a steep ridge, Skiva called a halt to rest his aching back. He found a fallen log and sat. With a snort, he intoned, to no one in particular, "Behold the Dog-Tooth Mountains. Behold the valley of Hinnom. Behold the city of Topeth. Fortune awaits." Faith turned to see a long valley surrounded by jagged mountains that snagged thick clouds at their summits. A sinuous road dropped down to a black river, crossed it, and meandered into a city in shadows. As she watched, the sun bore a hole through the clouds, and a shaft of light fell upon the city, transforming shadow to silver. "Like diamonds!" Faith exclaimed, pointing across the valley. "The city is covered in diamonds." Glistening in the sunlight, the frosty turrets and ice towers of Tophet did indeed sparkle. It was as if a snow angel kissed the sky, and diamonds from the stars of heaven fell to the city, encrusting every stone, every turret, every wall in dazzling white diamonds. "Why, I do believe ye be right," declared Old Scratch. "Look at that there Tophet, Skiva. Be those diamonds like the little girlies say? Why, ye be good to us after all. Ye be good to taking us to such a rich and beauteous place, covered in diamonds. Just looky, why we be rich soon as we gets there. With diamonds just laying about, we can scoop up a handful and just buys whatever we wants. Come on, Skiva, I wants to buy me a smoke." With a sour look on his face, Skiva rose from the log. With a grunt, the clouds swallowed the shaft of light, returning Tophet to the shadows. They began the descent into the valley. At noon, the travelers arrived at the banks of the Black River. Nearby was a shack, and beyond a bridge. As they walked closer, Faith noticed a little man wrapped in tatters perched on a stool inside the shack. On his desk were bottles of ink, pens, and stacks of well-used ledgers. The little man had little eyes. Hunched over his books, he studied the travelers as they approached. "Greetings, keeper," called Skiva, straightening his back. "All praise to the dear queen. May her reign be long and glorious. May all kingdoms look to her, and to her alone, for sagacity, direction, and expectation of progressive contemplation. May all that is virtuous, impartial, and sanctified be attributed to her magnanimous pleasure. May all other sovereigns lay prostrate beneath her feet and openly acknowledge her queenly aspirations. May all her antagonists crouch before her in abject capitulation." "All praise to the dear queen," squeaked the little man. "May all that cross this bridge submit to her almighty will. Ahem! I will take your accounts now. Name?" "Ah, yes, the name is Skiva. Sceva. Skiva. Praise be to the dear queen." "Right." The keeper leafed through a large ledger book. Skiva, Skiva, Skiva. Running his finger down the page, he soon found what he wanted. Ah, yes, here's your account. Praise be to the dear Queen. Let me see. You were equipped with 1 horse, required tack, saddle, bridle, 1 hound. It seems these animals were of great value to the dear Queen. Praise be to her name. The horse, a bay mare, a costly animal, seems to be cross-referenced. 1 minute. The keeper shifted in his seat, pulled down several ledgers, and flipped frantically through the pages. Ah, the horse was requisitioned from the Brown Leathers, also the hound, specially trained for tracking by the dear Queen's own houndmaster. This also was a highly valued animal. Lifting his little eyes from his records to Skiva's pointed chin, the keeper squeaked, Where are these animals and equipment that our superlative gracious dear Queen supplied to you? The little man's eyes narrowed as he scrutinized the obviously deficient Skiva. 1 minute. Before you give account of your stewardship of these valuable resources, I see a notation for a cross-entry. Ah, yes. Praise be to the dear Queen. Here it is. A gold ribbon. There is an outstanding balance for a gold ribbon. Now, sir, give account. All is easily explained, my dear keeper, smiled Skiva with a knowing nod. I comprehend the importance of your position before the dear Queen. All must be brought to account. Every ledger must balance. The dear Queen must receive her due with interest, of course. How else could I serve my dear Queen without thinking of her righteous expectations? You need to give complete account for all that goes beyond this bridge. Our dear Queen, with her countless commitments for the welfare of her people, must be satisfied in full. Our dear Queen. While Skiva was thick into another speech on the virtues of the dear Queen, Faith noticed a wagon coming toward the bridge. It was just like the one she saw the other day. 2 bony horses were guided by a ragged man on the buckboard. There was one difference. Beside him sat another man. This man was bigger, heavier. He wore brown leather coat, pants, and boots. He sat with his thick arms folded, swaying as the cart navigated the rutted road. As the horses drew the wagon near, Faith heard crying. Oh no, she thought, more poor people. Turning to Skiva, she heard him say, Truly the dear Queen was benevolence personified to allow me, her most humble servant, to take these noble creatures on an errand to acquire this living child you see standing before you. With a sweeping gesture, Skiva indicated Faith. Of course, the little man saw her, but with this introduction he opened another ledger. The wagon drew closer. The hooves of the horses struck the stone pavement of the bridge. The clatter turned Skiva's attention to the coming wagon. He lifted an eyebrow as an idea spun a web in his brain. The keeper glanced at the approaching wagon, but returned to his ledger with increased vigor. Does the living child come with any accessories? Inquired the keeper in an official tone. Of course, keeper, your quick eye sees all. The dear Queen, with her nose for raw talent, would only appoint a man of sharpened observational skills to such an essential station. As you see the girl, nothing hidden. Gray coat, leather shoes, appropriate garments. Oh, and her bird, a turtle dove. Turning to Faith, Skiva commanded, Show the man your turtle dove. Startled, Faith stared blankly at Skiva. Show the man your bird, repeated Skiva peevishly. Faith pulled back her hood where her pet nested. Anna stood, bowing and cooing. The keeper scratched inky notations of all the pertinent details. The wagon was halfway across the bridge. With a lift of an eyebrow and the air of a fellow conspirator, Skiva drew closer to the keeper. The horse and tack were lost by that man you see there." With a nod, Skiva indicated Old Scratch. Skiva leaned against the shack, pursed his lips, and narrowed his eyes to see what effect the comment had on the keeper. The little man kept his nose to his ledger. Skiva realized he needed to guide the keeper down the correct line of thinking. "You can put the hound down to his account. He lost that animal as well," Skiva added. The dawning of a new thought lit the face of the little man. With a glance to Skiva's black eyes, the keeper put down his pen and opened his palm. Skiva nodded. Old Scratch was standing to the side, absently itching his greasy head. He was bored by Skiva's boring speeches about the dear Queen. He was dreaming about a good smoke and wishing Skiva would hurry so they could get to Topet. Turning to Old Scratch, Keeper demanded, "You there? What is your name?" "Me? Why, yes, sir, dear Queen and all. I's called Old Scratch. Yeah, that's be good enough. Puts me down in your book there as Old Scratch." Keeper entered the claimed epitaph in his records. "Are you responsible for the loss of the dear Queen's horse?" "Well, now, Skiva and me," Old Scratch began, "we's had a talk about that there mare. Skiva had me looking high and low for that horse. I can't find her nohow, no way. Sees how we've been trooping all over creation, and I did leave the gate open." With a glance to Skiva, the keeper wrote in his ledger. Old Scratch continued with justification. "Why, I done left the gate open so the poor thing can get itself a drink at the river. You see, we was moving on. I couldn't just leave her without water. The poor thing was so beat and—" "And the hound?" prodded the keeper, interrupting Old Scratch. "Well, now, that was after them caves. Ski was so mean to me in those caves. The hound. I am asking about the hound," shrilled the keeper. "Wells, I could not find that cur no how, no way. Skiva told me I had done lost the girl. He didn't say nothing about the hound right then. But you can see the girlie's right char. Plain as plain. The dog run off by itself. I don't feel no more responsible." Skiva slipped the keeper 2 fat coins. "I believe I understand the situation," said the keeper to Skiva with a slow wink. The wagon pulled up and came to a halt. The thick-armed man jumped down from the buckboard and walked to the shanty. Iron chains were slung over his shoulder. A ring of keys dangled by his side. Skiva recognized the man as one of the dear Queen's guards, a brown leather. Standing by the keeper, Skiva gave the man a nod, but dropped his eyes to study his fingernails. In turn, the brown leather scanned Skiva up and down. His eyes shifted, and he noted faith in Old Scratch as well. He spat and addressed the keeper. "Another shipment for the camps." "In the name of the dear Queen," squeaked the keeper, "give account." "Here is a list, all the usual offenses against the dear Queen," yawned the brown leather. "Do you have room for another?" inquired the keeper. "Huh, what? You want to hitch a ride to the camps?" "No, of course not," stated the keeper with a hiccup. "Praise be to the dear Queen. It seems we have another lawbreaker in our midst. By his own admission, he confessed to criminal negligence. He did not close a gate. Imagine this clear disregard for one of the dear Queen's inspired regulations. Not only that, but this criminal lost a horse of the brown leathers. He also is implicated in the escape of a prized hound. Is this the lucky gent?" The brown leather indicated Skiva with a jerk of his thumb. "No, that one over there," said the keeper, "that foul-looking fellow scratching himself." "All right, hand me a writ, all legal like. I'll squeeze him in." The keeper busied himself with ledgers, ink, and papers. "This is proper. Any official examining this will find no fault," stated the keeper as he handed the brown leather a document. I amended the books to indicate the additional criminal and the cancellation of obligations of this fine gentleman. Load that rogue and be on your way. The city of our dear queen has no room for such. To the camps with him. There he will give some profit to our dear queen. Praise the dear queen, mumbled the brown leather as he handed the document to the cart driver. During Skiva's negotiations with the keeper and the brown leather, Faith went to see the people hunched in the back of the wagon. Why are you in a cage? Asked the little girl. Oh, sweet child, moaned a man, we are sentenced to the camps. Our lives are over. Another voice interrupted. Give me something to eat. For mercy's sake, anything. Slipping off her pack, Faith pulled out her last 2 apples. Standing on her toes, she held them to the outstretched fingers. They snatched the apples away. Crying and begging ceased. Fighting and yelling began. Mine! Give me that apple. I'll have that. Take it from me. Such kicking, biting, and hitting over 2 apples frightened Faith. Gathering up her pack, she hurried away just as the brown leather came to the wagon. What? Bellowed the brown leather. In the name of our dear queen is the meaning of all this fuss. He unlocked the hatch at the back of the wagon. With several well-placed punches from his thick fists and the knocking together of 2 heads, fighting gave way to moaning. Shut up. I won't take none of this nonsense, he yelled. Now make room. We got another passenger for this little excursion. You there, Stinky. Hey, Itchy, get over here. Old Scratch gawked at the brown leather. What? Choked Old Scratch. What do you want with me? You are going for a little ride, compliments of the dear queen. Skiva, cried Old Scratch. Skiva, tell them what way wrong. Skiva. The brown leather glanced back at the shanty. His hot face examined the cool expressions of the keeper and Skiva. Their lack of response told him exactly what to do. He swung back to find Old Scratch running for the woods. The chase did not last long. Whimpering and wailing, crying and pleading were met with hard knocks. Old Scratch was locked in the wagon with all the rest. The driver slapped the reins and the wagon lurched away. Before Faith realized what had happened, the wagon was struggling toward the ridge, and the brown leather was stomping back across the bridge. Just one more item needs to be cleared from the ledger, commented Keeper in his thin voice. That gold ribbon. Now tell me, friend Skiva, do you have the gold ribbon? Let us ask the child, proposed Skiva with a gesture toward Faith. Girl in the gray coat with turtle dove, shrilled the Keeper. Faith turned from gazing after the retreating wagon to look at the man. I understand you know of the gold ribbon that was requisitioned to this responsible citizen, squeaked the Keeper. Skiva tied it in my hair, stated Faith. I see quite plainly the ribbon is not there now. Why, in the name of the dear queen, did you not leave it in your hair? I did not like it. Where is it now? In the name of the dear queen, give account. Faith hung her head. I burned it. What? I burned it in the fireplace at home. This is serious. If the wagon were still here, I would throw you in with old Itchy. Old Scratch, amended Skiva. The Keeper did not acknowledge the correction, but squeaked. In the name of the dear queen, what is to be done? My accounts must be accurate. My ledgers will be inspected. Give account, I say. In the name of the dear queen, give account. Faith nervously wiggled her loose tooth with the tip of her tongue. Glancing up, she saw Skiva whispering in the Keeper's ear. Skiva was mean to her many times. He was cruel to Old Scratch all the time. He hurt Pa. The only reason Skiva was not cruel to Kerr was because of Kerr's sharp teeth. For the first time, was he helping her? You may pass, declared the keeper. In the name of the dear Queen, welcome to Topeth. 38. Theophilus sat on a bench with his back to a stone wall. The sun poked a hole through thick clouds, illuminating the courtyard where he sat. He closed his eyes, enjoying the warmth. Before him was a table with bowls and jars and bags. He was to sort, count, and pack seeds for next year's plantings. Timon was fussy about his seed. Better seed, better harvest. Theophilus understood. He went about the task with a furrowed brow. Putting winter squash seeds in groups of 10 was one thing. Putting 100 radish seeds in little bags was another. Apparently, this task was considered within his limited abilities. It was good. Organizing was methodical, focused, but not taxing. He was a soldier, always had been. He followed other occupations in his long life, but his calling was to be a soldier. He understood a soldier's life, he accepted a soldier's fate. War is a hideous factory manufacturing dead and dying. Sights and smells he would like to forget crowded his aching brain. He wounded and killed many enemies. This time he was among the wounded. He could not remember the last battle, but he hoped he acquitted himself like a man. Theophilus was sure the giants were hiding something. When he talked to Prochorus, the giant would steer the conversation to one of his favorite books or a new drawing. Timon only talked about the garden. The rest of the giants were even quieter. Nicanor was the strangest of all. Except for mealtimes, the giant was never to be found. Nicanor was not unkind. The giant always served him good food. Nicanor was avoiding him. He was sure of it. Theophilus sighed. He decided to sort memories like seeds. Memories that were splintered he would discard. He would meditate on whole memories. He had no choice. He could not stop thinking about what he did not know until he knew it. He would ask for pen and paper. He would write down what he knew about himself. His head needed to solve the problem of his interrupted life. Memories as seed. This was an apt metaphor for the fallow ground of his mind. The sun moved on. He wanted to finish the radish seeds. At dinner, he would talk to Prochorus about requisitioning paper and pen. After that, he wanted to visit the little donkey in the stable. She was always glad to see him. He went back to sorting. He was not looking forward to the amaranth seed. There was a lot of that. 39. The bridge and its keeper behind them, Skiva and Faith, followed the black road to Topeth. The usual fallow fields and empty cottages dotted the way. The further down the road they traveled, the taller the dog-toothed mountains grew, until the shadowed valley swallowed Faith and Skiva whole. Finally, the farms gave way and gave up to a swamp edged with stunted trees. A fetid stench seeped from the frosted earth. Skiva's black eyes watched Faith. He had worked hard for this little wonder walking beside him. He needed to make sure credit was given where credit was due. He had debts to pay to the living and the not-so-living. There was that futures contract. His eyes scanned the ancient city. Windows cut and turrets were empty and black. Stone walls undulated on bony bedrock. Here and there, thin smoke rose from a chimney or two. The city's gates yawned on rusted hinges, unguarded and abandoned. All looked normal. There was a dip in the black road, and the turrets disappeared from view. Skiva pulled Faith into a thicket. He picked up the pace to a limping sort of trot. Why are we running? I'm tired. Why aren't we going to the gate? I thought I got rid of idiots when Old Scratch was trundled off. Move your little legs faster. On the other side of that gate are a whole host of keepers of various stripes and smells. Foul, conniving beasts, all looking for their cut of meat. Meat? They all want a little slice of me. He yanked her arm and headed down a faint trail that ended at the city wall. Faith sunk to her knees. Anna landed on her limp shoulder. It should be right here, Skiva muttered to himself. Skiva's bony fingers probed the stone wall. To Faith, his hands looked like the colorless spiders she found under logs in the woods back home. His fingers stopped along a crack. Now, where is the key? Muttered Skiva as his spider fingers searched the weeds at the wall. Someone is responsible for this. Where is the blasted key? His thoughts flashed to accusing Dr. Luce of hiding the key. Skiva would not allow such dangerous words to be borne upon the open air. He stopped to think. With a gleaming eye, he looked at Faith. Quicker than thought, he plucked the silver chain from around her neck, thrust the key into a hole, and twisted. There was the sound of a very tidy click, and the crack in the stone wall widened. Interesting. Very interesting, muttered Skiva. Give me my key. To his dismay, Skiva found his hand obeying her voice, and not his will to keep it. With a shove, the crack widened. Faith screamed as a dozen black rats escaped into the swamp. An old shoe, a dented pot, 4 ruined baskets, and a broken wagon wheel immediately followed the rats. Shut up, Skiva, come on. Grabbing her arm, he pulled Faith inside the walls and closed the door behind him. A narrow path led past busted barrels, old wash tubs, wooden crates, stacks of crockery, and smashed ladies' hats stuck on pitchforks. A black liquid seeped from the piles of stuff. There was a scurrying sound of rat feet. Turning his skinny body sideways, Skiva pulled Faith over a pile of shingles, a stack of cracked plates, and a rusted bucket. To the right was a ruined bolt of fabric, a tower of chipped teacups, and a pile of rusty horseshoes. A baby's cradle, a dead cat, a dented washtub, and a rusty sickle stuck through a dirty blanket were to the left. They hurried past a wheelbarrow filled with baskets of cabbages that had been there too long. Whenever you open your mouth, say wonderful things about the dear Queen, remarked Skiva as they stepped over a pile of rotting timbers. Do you understand? How can I say anything about her? I never met her, reasoned Faith as they squeezed between broken-down carts piled high with trunks. Just do as you are told. That is, if you plan to stay out of nasty wagons going to nasty places, growled Skiva as they stepped over an oily sludge. What could be worse than this place? Skiva grabbed the child's arm, spun her around, and stuck his face in hers. Believe me, there are worse places. Do as I say. If something stinks, say something about the sweet spring air. If something is rotten, say something about being surrounded by indescribable beauty. Use your imagination. Learn to lie. Take that for a bit of fatherly advice. Faith yanked her arm out of Skiva's grip. Skiva felt his back crack. It was a good crack. You are not my father. You are a bad man. His black eyes flashed. His voice slipped into a snarl. Lying is easy. Actually, it is a game. Children like games, don't they? I learned that one long ago at my mother's knee. That yanked helped his back. Climbing through a jumble of wagon wheels was less painful. Skiva picked up the pace, chasing rats as he went. Squeezing between stacks of barrels, Skiva stopped. Pointing, he directed Faith to look through a hole in a mound of old clothes, anchored by bent plows and rusty rakes. Look. Faith saw a colossal statue of a woman in an open square. It rose majestically, dwarfing buildings and the people standing at its feet. A statue of the dear queen in all her glory, sneered Skiva. The bronze figure was robed in silver cloth that swayed with the slightest stir of the air. A circle of diamonds rested lightly on the brow. Haughty features were framed in cascades of shimmering gold ribbons, uncoiling like snakes to her knees. The hands of her muscular arms held a silver sword in one and an iron basket in the other. She stood upon blocks of black rock, shod in sandals of gold. A sheen of frost lined the statue, giving an illusion of sweat. As Faith looked, the setting sun burned a hole through thick clouds. A scarlet beam struck the circle of diamonds, the silver robe, and the mane of gold, blinding the crowd with brilliant light. A collective gasp issued from the people, and they fell to their knees. It was only for a moment. The thick clouds once again proved their dominance and snuffed the light. People struggled to stand. Those up first helped their neighbor. There was a bit of dusting off and looking for caps, but order was soon restored. Faith blinked and looked at the people. One had a live chicken, one had a wooden box, a man carried a bucket, an old woman carried rags. Line by line stood before the statue. As Faith watched, the people took their things to the statue and laid them at the base of the black rocks. Then slowly they backed away, bowing as they went. Brown leathers were there too. They collected the offerings and threw them into heaps surrounding the square, except the chicken that was hurried away by a brown leather in a different direction. Faith saw the bucket follow the chicken. A pair of rabbits disappeared with them too. What are they doing? Wondered Faith. The dear queen demands all. Then, in her infinite wisdom, she gives to all according to their need, said Skiva in his sing-song voice. They should just keep their things, observed Faith. It is all rotting here. Not very politic, little one, thought Skiva, although she does not need to be politic for long. Out loud, he said, Come on. With that, they plunged back into the chaos of stuff. The path ended at a black door. 40. With a tug, the door opened and out flowed a musty stench from a dark hall. Skiva fumbled about. There was a series of clicking sounds, and then there was light. Quivering green glowing balls hung from the ceiling, banished darkness to far corners. Pulling Faith inside, Skiva closed the door, catching the tail of an unfortunate rat. Faith saw stacks of boxes, straight piles of books, crowded cases of rusty tools, and tables bowed under the weight of huge glass jars. Preserves? Pickles? No, animals, all dead. Faith recognized squirrels, snakes, and baby pigs. There were green fish, floating spiders, black rats, and all sorts of birds, all suspended in yellow liquid. Where are we? Murmured the little girl. University, stated Skiva as he pulled her along. The dear Queen's Royal University of Topeth, Dr. Luce's collections. He hurried her past boxes of rusty springs, coils of wire, tangles of filaments, dials, dusty glass tubes, boxes of cotter pins, gauges, leaky barrels, piles of rocks, rusted machines, and more jars filled with more dead things. Old memories, most unpleasant, spiked in Skiva's brain. He was once a student here. Rooms of abandoned collections gave way to rooms stacked with dusty books. Stacks of dusty books gave way to stacks of chairs lining vacant lecture halls. Vacant lecture halls gave way to outdoor courts filled with moldering statues. Courts of moldering statues ended before a bronze door. Faith's legs would not go one more step. In the gloom, she sank to the floor. Skiva batted at the turtle dove, and it fluttered away, landing on the head of a statue. With a grimace, Skiva realized he would have to carry the child. His fingers gathered the small form, lifting her with a stifled gag in his throat. Kicking the door, it swung open, then slammed behind him. With an elbow, he hit a switch. Light flickered and glowed green. Wooden doors punctuated a wide hall at odd intervals. As he scurried down the hall, an echo of bumping and banging came to his ears. He picked up the sound of heavy boots coming his way. Shifting the girl, he freed a hand to try doorknobs. Boots got closer. He pulled on the chain around Faith's neck, retrieved the key, and stuck it into the nearest lock. A clear click. The door yielded. He withdrew the key and went inside. He confirmed the door was locked. At that moment, a brown leather turned the corner. Lights were on. Not normal. He was sent to investigate. So far, he saw no one. All was, as he had ever known it, empty and dusty. Then he saw a man's footprint, coming from the university and ending before a door. He brushed off the plaque, reading the inscription of Dr. Ahithophel Luce. He tried the knob. Locked. He put his ear to the door and listened. No sound. He was authorized to do nothing further. He turned and retraced his steps. Hitting the toggle, he turned off the light in the hall. Not good, muttered Skiva. Feeling the wall for a switch, his fingers groped a button and pushed. Glass balls blazed, illuminating a series of adjoining chambers. This space was spotless. The light was better, too, more like true daylight. Leather-bound books lined long shelves. Glass cabinets displayed curious gadgets. An elaborately carved desk dominated the room. With raised eyebrows, Skiva realized he was in Dr. Luce's private office. No one was ever allowed in Dr. Luce's rooms. Rumors about collections, stories, or strange devices, gossip about priceless treasures, and tales about clever inventions were circulated in whispers. Because no one was ever allowed in these rooms, no one would ever suspect him of being there. Perfect. He laid the girl on the desk. She was as limp as a freshly dead cat. With a curled lip, he looked upon the little body. She rather reminded him of the dissections of his school days. Along the wall, locked cabinets displayed calculating contraptions, mini machines, and ingenious instruments. He knew collectors would pay enormous sums for any of these. Locks yielded to Faith's silver key. Portable, valuable, those were the only criteria for what he stole. Soon his pockets were full of Dr. Luce's treasures. Skiva put his ear to the door, detecting no sound in the corridor. He unlocked the door. He laid the key on the desk and picked up the child. He hurried to the door and turned out the light. Pulling the door closed, he heard the lock click. Idiot, breathed Skiva. He had left the key on the desk. His hand rattled the knob. It did not budge. Stupid idiot. Skiva's fluency in cursing turned on himself. If only Old Scratch had been there to enjoy the novelty. I traded with Dr. Luce, reasoned Skiva, trying to calm himself. I left a valuable key in payment for what I took. Seems equitable to me. Nothing to be done about it anyway. What is of the essence is to hurry. With one final futile rattle of the doorknob, Skiva raced to the feast of the eve of the time of congregation. With no light, it was as black as the caves in the mountains of the Nephilim. Cradling the girl with one arm, he extended his fingers like spider legs to feel the wall. He was almost there. Thank you for listening. To hear more of the story, please come back soon, or you may purchase your own copy on Amazon. Just follow the link below. Until next time.